to stand, sit, and romance the already well-established protocol. I'm shy of sitting on it. I'm also very shy of standing on it. Because everyone sits and stands on protocol. What if it dies? So I prefer to romance it to keep it alive. So that when the registrar comes from the recording, protocol will still be very much alive. So the distinguished gentlemen permit me to really romance the existing protocol. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues who are here present, our cherished students, but also reaffirming our university's steadfast commitment to advancing science and technology that nourishes communities, sustain livelihoods, and uphold the highest standards of integrity and innovation. This inaugural lecture marks a significant milestone, being the seventh, and overall the seventh is the mark of completeness. Incidentally, the Vice Chancellor also gave the seventh inaugural lecture in the University of Texas 7 years ago. It is also coming in the 20th year of our institution's journey. So this year, Bell's University of Technology marks the 20th anniversary. Congratulations. You are coming at a very unique time, 7th convocation, 20th anniversary. Our commitment. Today is a very wet day, and Yoruba Palace is called Owo Awareness, very mindful of the coolness and calmness of the situation. This University of Technology was founded in July 2005 to produce graduates who are technically proficient, ethically grounded, and globally competitive. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, an inaugural lecture such as this exemplifies the university's mission to foster rigorous inquiry, cultivate practical solutions, and translate knowledge into tangible benefits for our society. I deeply extend my heartfelt congratulations to Professor Arisa for this well-deserved honor. Your work in food technology, which is grounded in rigorous research, driven by curiosity and attentiveness to the texture of local and international food systems, embodies the values we strive to instill in every Bell's student. Your topic, my Nigeria food story, scarcity in the midst of plenty, holds the potential to shape classroom learning, inform policy development, and influence enriched industrial practice. I am confident that your future endeavor will deepen our impact both in Nigeria and beyond. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express gratitude to the College of Food, Agricultural Science and Technology, fondly called Holdfast, and specifically the Department of Food Science and Technology for their dedication to supporting world-class scholarship. I also thank the students, collaborators, funding partners, industry stakeholders, and alumni whose confidence in our mission sustains our work and expands our capacity to serve. To Professor Ngozi Inaugural, the Deputy Vice Chancellor also, and your team. Your curiosity, perseverance, and commitment to mentorship will shape generations of scholars and practitioners. To the students in the audience and those joining us online, you are the reason we gather today. May this moment inspire you to pursue excellence with integrity and to seek knowledge that improves lives. Ladies and gentlemen, as we proceed with today's program, I encourage us all to engage with openness and collegiality, to listen deeply as the challenges of our time, ranging from food security and safety to nutritional air and sustainable production, require the kind of interdisciplinary, impact-oriented scholarship that Professor Arisa exemplifies. In closing, I reaffirm Bells University of Technology's unwavering commitment to excellence in education, research, and service. We are most grateful to our mission when we cultivate a culture of curiosity, responsibility, and inclusivity, where knowledge is produced with integrity and shared for the benefit of the society. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this momentous occasion. May this inaugural lecture not only honor the accomplishment of Professor Inaugural, but also inspire all of us to contribute boldly and thoughtfully to the future of food science and technology in Nigeria and in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let me warmly welcome you all to the 7th inaugural lecture of Bells University of Technology, Hotel, where only the best is good for Bells. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
I have the honor and privilege to call upon the University Orator to present the citation of the lecturer.
Thank you very much. Standing on the already established protocol, it's my singular honor this morning to read the citation of the inaugural lecturer in the person of Professor Ngozi Arisa. Please, may I call on the inaugural lecturer this morning to step forward for the reading of her citation. Thank you. Professor Ngozi Arisa is a professor of food technology in the Department of Food Science and Technology, Bells University of Technology, Ota. She had her primary education at Echero Primary School, Aba, Abia State, and secondary education at Muslim Girls High School, Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. She proceeded to Federal University of Technology, Owerri, where she obtained a Bachelor of Technology degree in Food Science and Technology. She worked briefly as Quality Control Manager at Trimco Limited, a vegetable oil expression company. Having worked on oil refining for her research project, she was able to single-handedly set up the quality control laboratory of the company from scratch and oversaw the day-to-day running of the same, even as a fresh graduate. Professor Arisa holds a Master of Science and Doctor of Philosophy degrees of the premier university, University of Ibadan. She worked with Abia State University as an assistant lecturer and lecturer 2 before joining Bells University of Technology as a lecturer 2 in December 2005. Positions held. She has held many positions right from her secondary school days when she was the sanitary prefect, Muslim Girls High School, Ijebu-Ode, treasurer, Iberi Schools Union, Students Union, Federal University of Technology, Owerri, hall warden, female hall of residence, Abia State University, Uturu, Umudike campus, coordinator of Department of Food Science and Technology, and secretary to the departmental board meeting. At Bells University of Technology, Ota, she has held many positions and is a member of numerous committees, some of which are listed below. Coordinator, Department of Food Technology from August 2006 to February 2007. College Examination Officer 2005 to 2006 to the first semester of 2006-2007. Member University Library Committee 2006. Member Orientation Committee 2006-2007 academic session. Member Protocol Subcommittee, First Bells University of Technology, Technology Fair. College Examination Officer 2007-2008 session. Examination Officer, Department of Food Science and Technology, 2006-2015. Member Space Allocation Committee. Chairman Bells University of Technology Cooperative and Credit Society Fresh Committee, 2009-2010. Coordinator, Department of Food Technology from August 27, 2012 to September 24, 2012. Coordinator, Department of Food Technology, January to February 2013. Member Convocation Subcommittee on Technology Fair from the year 2011 to 2015. Member University Budget Committee, Acting Head, Department of Food Science and Technology, Acting Dean, College of Food Sciences, Acting Head, Department of Food Technology and Nutrition, Member Postgraduate School Board from 2015 to October 2016, Member University Senate, August 2015 to August 2016, Member University Ceremonials Committee from 2016 to date, Member Committee on Fire Outbreak in Coleman's Resource Center, Member Mock Resource Accreditation Team in Biotechnology Program for PhD Biotechnology in the year 2016. Chairman, Convocation Sponsorship and Income Generation Subcommittee, 2016 to date. Acting Director, University Central Teaching and Research Laboratory. Director, Academic Planning from the year 2017 till 2025. And also served as Member Committee of Deans and Director from 2017 till date. Member Campus Development Committee 2017 till date. Member University Budget Committee 2017 to 2025. Member Central Admissions Committee 2017 till date. Member Postgraduate Board and several other committees that she has worked meritoriously. And of course, she is the Deputy Dean, Deputy Vice Chancellor, presently of the Professor Ngozi Arisa is also a Sunday school teacher in her church, Lagos Presbyterian Church, Yaba. Here she has served as welfare officer for both the Sunday school department and Dorcas House of Women's Field. She has also served as the Sunday school superintendent and coordinator in the same church. She's also the convener, scholarship award committee of the church board. Research focus. She has focused her research on processing and preservation of foods, from lesser-known fruits and legumes, development of appropriate cassava peeling process, processing of underutilized foods like trifoliate yam and others, preservation of local Nigerian vegetables, research to find out the effects of processing on an actual nutritional values of edible hide, popularly known as tomo. Professor Ngozi Arisa has mentored over 300 students and supervised over 100 undergraduate and postgraduate projects and dissertations. She has published over 60 articles in reputable journals and refereed conference proceedings. She is married to Mr. Joseph Arisa, and we are blessed with children. Thank you very much. May I invite the inaugural lecturer of today, in the person of Professor Ngozi Arisa, to deliver her inaugural lecture.
Thank you very much. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Jeremiah Ojeguno, the Registrar, Mr. Lamidi Kafa, the Bursar, Mr. Shino Adepoju, the University Librarian, Dr. Felicia Yusu, the Deans of Colleges, Directors, staff and students of our great university, invited guests, especially members of my church and my family. My presentation will go this way. I will start with the introduction. I'll talk about foods generally. Then I'll talk about the deterioration of foods. Then food processing and preservation. Then I'll go on to what I have contributed to the academia, and then there will be conclusions and recommendations. I'm a food technologist, a food scientist and food technologist. And most times, people don't understand what food science and technology is. And so we have very few people that have come into that our profession. So I would like to educate us a little bit about food science and technology before I go. So food science and technology as a program, like I said before, is usually misunderstood by majority of the population. So who is then a food scientist and a technologist? A food scientist and technologist is that person that has learned to apply the basic knowledge of science, engineering and technology in solving food-related problems. That is, production, processing, preservation, food engineering principles, distribution, food safety, and nutrition. So that's who a food technologist is. And so, food science and technology has different sections or areas of specialization. We have people that specialize as food chemists, we have food engineers, food processing and preservation people like me, food microbiologists, food biotechnologists, food physicists, and food psychologists. And in studying food science and technology, we have to look at it in various ways. A food scientist looks at the two systems that we look at in food science and technology: the pre-harvest period and the post-harvest period of food. So in the pre-harvest period of food science and technology, we are looking at So we are saying, I'm talking about food science and technology still. So the food scientist looks at food in two ways. The pre-harvest period, which has to do with the time the food technologist has decided on what to process. He's deciding, maybe I want to make, let's say for example, I want to make sweet corn. And in making that sweet corn, you think about the kind of corn that will come out very best. So the food technologist will go ahead and tell the farmer to plant a particular species of the corn that will give him the right product quality that he wants to produce. So that is the pre-harvest period in food science and technology before he goes on to the post-harvest process, which he is actually more interested in. So, foods are complex chemical substances that are in form of dissolved solids that are dissolved in some solutions. There are solutions. You have solids being dissolved in a solvent to give you a solution. So food usually is a solution which has different solids that are dissolved in different solids and different solvents. So, and those solids are usually those substances that we refer to as nutrients. And there are different types of nutrients that foods are composed of. So a particular food usually contains more than one nutrient, but one will predominate the others, and that could be categorized as that one that predominates. So there are many ways foods are classified. They may be classified based on their source, that is foods of animal origin, which will include beef, lamb, pork, poultry, and so on. And also have foods of plant origin, which are made up of roots, tubers, fruits and vegetables, cereals, and grain legumes, oilseeds and nuts, and then spices and herbs. There are also foods that come from inorganic sources, like our salt, the water that we take, and some clays that are edible. In addition to nutrient composition in cells of the food, the cells also contain some chemical substances that catalyze some biochemical reactions. And those substances that are in the cells of the food, they are those substances that aid processes like respiration in the food, photosynthesis, or if it has to do with plants. Then we also have ripening. When the cells of the food are broken down, they are normally spilled. Remember, I said those substances that are inside the food. Those substances that are inside the food usually are just those substances that are referred to as enzymes. Normally, when the food is in its ether state, those substances do not react. They are just there, aiding their natural processes. But when the food product has been broken down, like when you cut to peel, those substances will then be spilled out. On the surfaces of foods too, we have some microorganisms that are naturally inherent on them. Those substances do not cause any problem to the food product as long as the food is intact. However, when the food product has been broken down, you now have that those microorganisms now gain access into the food product. And when they gain access into the food product, they will begin to cause their own reactions. So we now have that both the biochemical and the microbiological reactions that take place in the food product will lead to the other matter that we are going to look at. So when the food product has been opened, we have that biochemical reactions to begin to take place. And also, those microorganisms which ordinarily were on top of the food product will gain access and they will begin to react with the food product, leading to food deterioration. So food deterioration occurs when the microbiological, chemical, or physical changes occur in the food making the food product to become unacceptable to the customer, to the consumer. The deterioration affects the color, texture, nutritional value, and acceptability of the food. I was talking about the pre-harvest and the post-harvest period before. So the pre-harvest period starts from when the food manufacturer contemplates on the type of food to produce. He then decides to produce food of specific quality, characteristics which may only be made from specific raw materials with certain quality attributes. So to the time the crop manufactures, then the crop is mature for harvest. That is the pre-harvest period, when he decides, I want to produce this one. And he calls the farmer, and this may even go ahead and give specific seed to the farmer to sow for me, and then eventually harvest and begin to process. Then the post-harvest period. As food technologists, we are more interested in the post-harvest period of the food commodities that we look at. So this includes all the activities that take place in that food from the time of harvest until the food gets to the plate of the final consumer. So we have by packaging, like packing in the farm, when the food product has just been harvested, the packing, the preliminary cleaning, the transportation within the farm and outside the farm, processing, preservation, operations and processes, packaging, distribution, warehousing and retail display. The food technologist is interested in that. So in Nigeria, coming to our problem, in Nigeria, we have little or no packing house operations or activities that take place. What I mean by packing house operations, you know, normally when a food product is harvested, the first thing that should be done is when they are gathered to a particular place on the farm, there should be a kind of pre-processing process that takes place there. So in the farm, they're supposed to do cleaning, sorting and grading, and then giving the food product a kind of cleaning it up. That could be like using water and so on to cool it, to clean off the dirt on it, and also to reduce the temperature of the food product, which will eventually affect it if it's not done. So in Nigeria, there are little or no packing house operations that take place in our country. Therefore, food products are not given necessary cleaning, field heat removal, and initial packaging for transportation to processing facilities or markets. In the 1980s, food technologists proposed and designed transit returnable containers with right structural strength for maintenance of produce integrity. Produce is still stacked on one another with no form of primary packaging or secondary packaging given to it. Rather, what we have as packaging materials for our food products are jute bags, cellophane bags, petroleum bags. We have bags, raffia bags, and so on, being used as the storage as a packaging material and also for transit container. Because of that, remember I have said that all those are eventually, because the food products are not given the right treatments, we have that within a short period of time, the food product will eventually deteriorate and go bad. So the factors that affect the shelf life of the foods that we have that physical factors, and we also have chemical and biochemical factors and biological and macro. We have under biological, we have macro and microbiological factors. So these are the factors. The physical factors, we have factors such as temperature, moisture content, presence of or absence of oxygen, light, time, and so on, and cuts and bruises and so on. We have of the chemical and biochemical factors, we have the activities of enzymes in the food, and this factor is also dependent on physical and biological factors. We also have the biological factors being the activities of insects, vertebrate pests on the food, activities of microorganisms on the food. or in the food, as the case may be. So as this has been said before, there are factors that determine the shelf life of the food products, and they are physical, chemical, and biological in nature. These factors are interrelated. Temperature, for instance, which is a physical factor, affects the rate of biochemical reactions such as respiration, ripening, and so on. Then, therefore, the control of temperature will lead to increase or decrease in biochemical and microbiological reactions that take place in the food product. Transportation within the farm, from point of harvest, starting to packing house, within the packing house, during operations such as cleaning, cooling, sorting, grading, and so on, will determine also the quality of the food product eventually. Food products are stacked on one another. Products such as yams, plantains, and bananas are thrown from one person to another during loading or offloading. I'm sure if you go to places where they sell food products, especially in Lagos State, we have Ijoro. At Ijoro Market, they receive plantains in. That's where it's like a depot for plantain for people that live in Lagos State. So when you go there, you will see them throwing the plantains when they are offloading from one person to another. That is aside from the fact that these food products are stacked on one another. And there's one thing, pressure varies from height to height. Pressure varies from height to height. So because pressure varies from height to height, when you put a product on top of a particular product, that product now bears the weight of the one that you have put on top of it. So there should be consideration on how to stack this food product, making sure that the food product does not bear the weight of the one that is on top of it. You will see it as we go ahead. So this may result in breakages, bruises, and cuts. These breakages, cuts, and bruises will lead to activation of the enzyme reactions, microbiological reactions, ultimately culminating in deterioration of the food and loss. The use of appropriate and all inappropriate packaging materials, transit containers, transportation vehicles at required optimal temperature for the crops affect shelf life of the food products. You can see this. This picture was taken at Mile 12 Market. You can see the way the food products have been stacked. This is tomato. Its price is higher than what we are seeing. The ones that are still some basket under. So these food products, this tomato, are packed on one of them, especially the one on this side. But if you look at the one by the left side, you will see that that container looks more like what should be encouraged. However, it should not be filled to the brim. There should be space. You can see if you look at the size of the container bears the weight of the food product. If that is not done, this is just an exceptional case. I saw it in the market anyway, but it's just there are very few containers because these are returnable containers and they cost money. So they are more expensive than the raffia basket that we have here. So you have seen that the food products are stacked on each other. So bearing the weight of ones under them, and that leads to deterioration and loss, and make the food products become expensive than they should be. This is for onion. You can also see how they are stacked on one another. The one buried at the base will bear the weight of everything and eventually will deteriorate. But you know what? Both the farmer and the retailer will ensure that he gets the price for both the good and the bad ones. At the end of the day, they will sort them. After sorting, the good ones will be sold to get the price for everything because he will not lose. And so that will lead to inadequacy of food products, and that will make the food product to be expensive. This is also a truck carrying food products. You can see that person sitting on top of it. He also has weight. The ones under are already bearing the weight plus him. So that makes the food products to become more expensive than they should be. So this leads to crop loss. According to demand, crop loss in the tropics vary from country to country. In less developed countries, grain loss may be as much as 25% of yield, and for fruits and vegetables, it may be up to 50% of the product. And that 50% that is left will also pay for the cost of everything. So the food product becomes scarce and very expensive for people to get. This shows the loss for different food commodities that are in the tropics. We also have this. So now, I had said before, we saw the jute bags. So jute bags, cellophane bags, petroleum bags, raffia baskets are used as transit containers, and this is very inappropriate. They do not protect product integrity, resulting in most times avoidable food losses, wastages as products at the base are made to carry the weight of the entire stack throughout the journey, and even while in storage at warehouse and sale display, just like we saw in the place that we saw before. Transit vehicles are not refrigerated. The roads are very bad, resulting in elongated transit times and mechanical impact on the food with all implications. We saw it in that place. Normally, a food product when it's harvested, whether it's animal or plant, like I said before, should be cleaned up and the temperature should be brought down, because those biochemical agents and the microorganisms, they tend to act at higher temperatures because they have optimal temperatures for their activities. And we see that in our country, most of our food products are kept at those optimal temperatures that encourage food deterioration. So they are supposed to be cleaned and cooled down and then transported in temperature-regulated vehicles, and even during display, retail display, they should also be kept at regulated temperatures. So that is not done. Food processing transforms animal, plant, and marine food products Thank you very much. So now I talked about the different aspects of food, science and technology. So we are looking at food processing and preservation. So food processing and preservation is that process that is given to the food product to transform it from a raw material to the required food product that you would want to have. So food processing requires the application of labor, energy, machinery, and scientific knowledge to a step-by-step or a series of steps, a series of processes in achieving the desired transformation of the raw material to the value-added ingredients or finished products that will satisfy consumers' needs and convenience. According to Brenner, the suitability of a crop for processing is a balanced assessment of the properties of the food crop. Properties such as availability, geometric properties, physical properties, functional properties, growth properties, mechanical properties, and thermal and electrical properties of the food product. We have been in processing food products. We have the conventional and the new methods of food processing. So we have the conventional processing and preservation processes. These are thermal processing by addition of heat. Those processes that will entail you adding heat to the food product in order to process and preserve the food product are referred to as thermal processing. We have the refrigeration, that is processing by removal of heat. Processing by removal of heat, that is when you remove heat. Remember I said that when there are optimum temperatures for reactions, both the biological and biochemical reactions, that there are optimum temperatures. When heat is removed from food products, the rate at which the food product deteriorates is reduced. So we have that refrigeration, which has to do with both freezing and chilling. They are processes of food preservation. Then dehydration, drying, that is removal of food products by it can be by addition of heat or by removal of heat. Fermentation also, and we should know that agriculture has one form of fermented food product or the other that they eat. So it's a form of food preservation process. Now, those are the conventional food processing and preservation methods. There are new processes that are now used for food processing and preservation, and these include food irradiation, high hydrostatic pressure processing, ohmic heating. Maybe I may just try and explain some of them, just a few, then I'll go ahead. Let me take ohmic processing. Ohmic processing is also referred to as let me explain, it's a process that you will use the resistance. You know, every substance has its resistance to electricity or conducting of electricity. So when a food product is made to serve as a conductor, it has a resistivity, a resistance. So that resistance of the food product to flow of electricity results in a form of, should I call it, a resistance that will lead to heat generation within the food product. So in this one, we are not adding heat. Rather, the heat is being produced inside the food product, so leading to food preservation. And also, looking at also this, let me go to microwave and infrared heating. For microwave, when microwaves are passed to food products, it leads to a kind of frictional forces taking place in the food product. And so the food product has a kind of fast reorientation. You know, food products, normally things have the positive pole and the negative pole. And we know that positive and negative pole, they come together, they attract. Then you see that in food products you have positively charged ions and negatively charged ions. Like water is negatively charged. Water has the OH group and also the hydrogen group. And the food, most foods have dissolved substances in them, like sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is positively charged. That sodium is positively charged. So you have a kind of fast reorientation of these positively charged and negatively charged parts of the food product very quickly. You know, it happens at very fast rate. Because of that, you know, when you rub your hands together very fast and you touch it on your body, you know it generates heat. So that's what actually happens in the food product. So the food product becomes hot from inside. That's why sometimes when you touch the food, you say that the food product you can actually handle it. But when you open it up, it's very hot. And there's another thing that happens outside. So that's that. So those are the new technologies. We have the 3D printing also as new technologies that have been applied in food processing and preservation. So these recent advances and emerging technologies are employed to produce foods that are nearly as fresh as the unprocessed ones in terms of texture, color, flavor, aroma, taste, and nutrient retention. You know, if you, let's say you have salad or you have a food product that has different colors in it. A green vegetable, you want green vegetable to be green. You don't want it to be dark brown, brownish green in color. So these new technologies, after processing, you still ensure that the food product that is produced retains that greenness or redness or whatever color that you want the food product to have. So in order to produce foods that are consistent in quality, process control is applied. What is process control? Process control is a tool that is used to prevent product variability and also ensure that the final consumer access the food product. Product variability, for example now, if you have Fanta here in Nigeria, or here in Ota, and you go to, let's say, Port Harcourt, you would want the Fanta to be the same, of the same quality. If you have Coke here in Nigeria and you go to Japan, you would want the Coke to be the same. You would not want variability in the product. So process control is used in ensuring that the food product remains the same everywhere. And this is because consumers expect to have food products that are consistent in quality, no matter where the same product brand is procured. Consumers expect to have consistent products with the one they may have procured previously, maybe from a different geographic location, and then they want that. So, process control is applied in ordering and supplying raw materials, detailed product planning, management of orders, and so on. The need for process control is also due to the following: competition that exists among manufacturers to produce more brand ranges in order to have a fair market share, and the soaring cost of labor and raw materials, and also due to international regulatory bodies. They insist that products must have the same value. So now my contributions, some of my contributions, but I cannot say all. I have some of them here, and I'll just have a few. I'll just run out a few of them. So as a food technologist, I have worked on different food classifications. I have worked on fat and oil processing and preservation, fruits and vegetables, cereal grains and leguminous grains, roots and tubers, foods that are well known and lesser known ones, and some underutilized ones. I've also looked into nutrition and dietetics, but like I said before, permit me to just talk about very few of them. I will start from fat and oil processing. I have worked on fat and oil, and the products I have worked on, I extracted oil from Bacrodis edulis, native pear. I'm sure we know the pear that we use in eating corn. That is Bacrodis edulis. So I've worked on it. I worked on the mesocarp. I extracted oil from the mesocarp. I also extracted oil from the seeds. And these are some of the results. So this is today, Bacrodis edulis. I said I worked on the seed. Like I extracted oil from the seed, and the seed contains oil that can be used. We extracted the oil, then we refined the oil. In refining of oil, we have different processes that take place. We did the degumming process, and we also bleached the oil, and we saw that the quality of the oil that we produced was actually very good. So I also worked on these are some of the results. So I also worked on the mesocarp. This was actually my master's project work that I did with my supervisor. He was my master's supervisor and also my PhD supervisor, Professor Awo, in the University of Ibadan, a very good man. So I worked on the Bacrodis edulis, dried the Bacrodis edulis. People that know wonder how I was able to dry it, because you know when you apply it melts, it kind of melts. It does not dry, but we dried it, and then we extracted the oil from the Bacrodis edulis, from the mesocarp, and we refined it. Refining, we degummed, then we bleached, and we saw that the refining actually improved the quality of the oil, and we also saw that the quality of the oil that the Bacrodis edulis has is very, very good, and can compare it with olive oil. And looking at the Bacrodis edulis, mesocarp, all the seeds, you also see that the oil content in them is very high, even higher than the well-known oil sources. You can see that. The dried Dacrodis edilis mesocap has 62% oil, which means that if the cultivation of this Dacrodis edilis is done, like we have plantations of it, one can actually go into, in fact, our country will actually benefit from that, because most oil sources, none of them contains up to 62% oil, none. So that's that. And from the table above, it can be seen that the percentage of oil content in dried native pear fruits mesocap was 62%, which is higher than percentage of oil content of most oil-bearing seeds. There is therefore the need for consideration of mass cultivation of the crop for its possible industrial application. I also worked on this. People from the eastern part of the country will identify this is called African yam bean, Spinocylis senoscapa. That is what it is. I worked on it. We use it to produce sauce. Normally the sauces that we use is produced from soybean. It's produced from soybean. But instead of soybean, because we looked at this native pear, we looked at this African yam bean, and we saw that it has similar characteristics with the soybean. So we decided to see the possibility of using it to produce sauce. We know Maggi sauce. Do we know Maggi sauce? Soy sauce. So we used this to produce sauce that was like Maggi or soy sauce, and it was very good. These are the quality characteristics instead there. We have also gone ahead to use this African yam bean to produce cubes, bouillon cubes. But that is still in progress. But the cubes have been tested and analyzed and used for cooking, and they were very well accepted. That's the time there. We have also worked on Bambara groundnut. Bambara groundnut is okra. I'm sure we know those women that carry those yellowish food products all over. That's okra. So we've worked on it, and we use it to produce food for children. That's the complementary foods, and they were well accepted by people. Cassava. I worked on cassava for my PhD, and all of us, I'm sure, know cassava. And cassava is a root crop that has no natural dormancy. Cassava begins to deteriorate immediately after harvest, and after 3 days of harvest, it begins to develop blue-black streaks as a result of biochemical and microbiological reactions taking place inside it. So it is necessary to harvest cassava whole without bruises and cut for the roots to be able to store for up to 7 days. So you must harvest the cassava so that nothing will happen to it at all, so that it will be able to store. If not, it will deteriorate. So cassava roots can also be stored in cool, dry, well-ventilated places. And due to this low shelf life of cassava, it is stored in the following ways. It is stored underground, it is stored in trenches, stored in baskets that are covered with moist soil or sawdust. Storage is refrigerated systems, mostly frozen. Storage is stored as processed food products. Most times, they are stored as processed food products and materials for use. So in processing the cassava, what I did, in cassava processing, there is a process that is a unique process that is very laborious and difficult. That is peeling, and that difficulty is as a result of the size and shape and weight of the cassava. So you cannot design a mechanical peeler for cassava. It is very difficult. because you either have underpeeling or overpeeling of the cassava. So what we did for that my thesis, and I continued with the research, was to process it by firstly peeling it using chemicals. So we did chemical peeling using different percentages of sodium hydroxide. This sodium hydroxide is actually a food grade chemical, but we have to use it in a particular form. So we use sodium hydroxide with neutralization with sodium chloride or neutralizing it with citric acid. So that was what we did, and it led to the peeling of the cassava. But we now have to look at the effect the chemical peeling would have on the cells of the cassava, and these are the effects. So it led to kind of elongation of the parenchymal cells of the cassava, and that's what we have here. So these are some of the results that we got from looking at the peeling of cassava using chemicals. And that's that. I have also worked, and I'm still working, on some other lesser known roots and tuber crops. One of them is trifoliate yam, referred to as ona in Igbo. So we worked on this. We used it to make food products for children, complementary food products. We also tested to know the mechanical strength of this. Normally, in food processing, we don't teach students to cook. Rather, we teach them the industrial applications that food products go through. So one of them, if you are doing an industrial process, you use machines. So in order to know the tensile strength, the compressibility of some root crops, like this trifoliate yam itself, different types of yam, we did the research to know. So, and we also made meat pies from the trifoliate yam and applied it in other processes. Most times, trifoliate yam is only boiled and eaten with palm oil that you put salt and maybe pepper. So we then look at the possibility of using this trifoliate yam to make other food products. So we made porridge, we made when you look at the trifoliate yam, it's almost like our own potato. So we used it to make chips too, and we looked at the acceptability, how people would accept them, and they were quite well accepted, especially the meat pies. In fact, the meat pies were even preferred to the ones that were filled with, they were better preferred than the ones that were filled with potato. So we have also worked on cow hides, gomo, especially in this era. You go to market. When you go to market, you see many people clustering around the woman that is selling this thing. So, and we have to look at it. What is the nutritional content? Because most times people say you are eating it, there is no nutrients in it. So we have to look at it, and we saw that depending on the processing method, you would have either the nutrients, some of the nutrients being retained, or some to be totally lost. In conclusion, prior to now, I had actually believed that Nigeria produced more than adequate quantities of food she requires to feed her teeming population. That was my belief. And prior to now, prior to, should we say, 2023, prior to some years past, we had quite a lot of food. You know, those pictures that I showed them, I actually went to the market where they sell those food products before. And said, please, where are those heaps of rottening food products? They said there's none, you can see them. And they were quite very few. You will not see like it used to be. It's not because we have become better in processing or preservation, but because we don't have adequate food. We have so much arable land. We have people that are willing to go to the farms and produce, but because of what we have seen now in the country, people can no longer go to the farm because of insecurity. Insecurity in the country has led to food insecurity. It has led to food insecurity in the country. So you now see that even the bad food products that ordinarily would have been thrown away are sold. So you buy oranges, you buy 10 oranges, you can have maybe 7 good ones and 3 bad ones because of insecurity. And the unfortunate thing is that this insecurity is happening in the food basket of the country. Benue State, Plateau State, those states that produce most of our food products, they can no longer go to farm because of insecurity. And of course, having them, since they have already gone to stay in some IDP camps, it will be difficult to take them back to the farm. Nobody likes that laborious work for farming, except the government does some things. So, recent events and occurrences in the country have shown that activities beyond inappropriate pre- and post-harvest activities are responsible for food shortage and food insecurity in the country. As it is, the country does not produce adequate food for our population due to insurgencies that have led to insecurity, poorly implemented food and agricultural policies, and poor infrastructure. We are supposed to have, I'm going to give, I hope I will be able to say all. So there is need for federal government and state governments to take all necessary steps as a matter of urgency to end insecurity in the country. The root causes of the state of insecurity that has chased farmers from their farmlands should be tackled to reduce the inflation of prices of foods and food insecurity in the country. The displacement of farming communities that are still ongoing by herders and bandits must be brought to an end for the sake of the future of the country and her existence as a country with sustainable food system. The government should bring up deliberate policies that will make farming interesting and a veritable lucrative economic venture. This cannot be achieved except there is security, farming settlements with housing, modern schools, markets, hospitals, adequate power supply, and information and communication technology facilities should be established. This will reduce urban migration, youth unemployment, and ultimately reduce insecurity, because an idle man is a devil's workshop. So the government of Nigeria should assist farmers and primary food processors in procuring needed food preservation facilities such as refrigerated storage facilities, refrigerated transportation vehicles and distribution and retail display equipment. The roads to farming areas should be rehabilitated. There should be provision of social amenities in the rural areas where the farms are located to encourage rural dwelling for both farmers and processors. There is need to set up food processing plants near areas of food production. In the past, we have factories like Vegfruit, a tomato processing plant which was located in the north, near where tomatoes were grown. There was also a company that produced sugar tapes. In the recent times, Erisco Foods and Dangote Sugar have taken their places. There's also a company that produces a range of tomato products in Jos, and that product is referred to as tomato Jos. There is need for more. Thank you. So these are the references. I still have more recommendations. In starting my acknowledgement, I would want to acknowledge my Vice Chancellor. Because the UN has brought it to me. Please be patient with me. It's quite long. I will read it so that I won't miss out anybody. Thank you. So, in acknowledging, I would like to thank God most sincerely for His grace, goodness, love, guidance, protection in my life. I am a living testimony of God's grace and faithfulness. I appreciate Professor O.A. Ogumoyela, who is seated here with us, the Dean of College of Food Sciences, between 2006 to 2014, Professor Malomo, for the top training that they gave us. Actually, we felt they were very hard. I have my colleagues here, but they gave us good training. And that training has sustained us so that any work that we are giving, any challenge that we face, is from assault. We do it very well. I do not give up because Professor Ogumoyela will demand for results, no matter how you feel about the process of achieving it. My special thanks goes to my mentor, Emeritus Professor O.C. Awo, my supervisor, and my Professor Arnold, seated here, the former Vice Chancellor of our university, Inaugural University. Thank you, sir, for all the encouragement. Thank you, sir. The immediate past Vice Chancellor of Inaugural University in Ondo State, the faculty and staff of Food Technology Program of University of Ibadan. Coming to more recent times, I must sincerely appreciate the Vice Chancellor of Bells University of Technology. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Professor Jeremiah Oludele Ojebiro, who has given me the opportunity to serve the university in very important capacities. Thank you, sir, for trusting and daring to believe that a woman can work in sensitive positions I have worked in and is still working. Thank you very much. May God continue to grant you wisdom and make your ways prosperous. You will lack no good thing ever. I thank the other principal officers of the university. I thank the principal officers of the university, the registrar, Mr. L.S. Kappa, the bossa, Mr. Shino Adepoju, the university librarian, Dr. Felicia Yusu, and I also thank the past principal officers, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Adebayo Ibeyemi, the registrar, Mrs. Oluwatiyemi Sigbadebo, the bossa, Mr. Adegoke Omotayo, the university librarian, Dr. Clement Omagbemi, and others. I appreciate my friends, late Professor Minat, Olabisi Adeleko, my friend and younger brother and colleague, Professor Taiwo Oluri. I know that I can always depend on you, and you have always been a great friend. My friend, Dr. Esther Adam, Dr. Christiana Kesta, Professor Bien Akase, Dr. Oluwajoba, Professor Kim Kaoli Alauba, my dean, Professor Augustine Omoike, my head of department, Dr. E.A. Alamu, Dr. Doris Anemene, my students and colleagues, my students and colleagues in fact, Dr. O.E. Juju and his wife, Yenimo, Professor and Mrs. Daramola, Professor Augustine Ademola, Professor O.S. Fayomi, that succeeded me in academic planning, Dr. Benedicta Ezudu, Mrs. Helen Aka, thank you for being my friends and being there. I am grateful to all the academic staff and non-teaching staff of our great university. I cannot write out all your names, but know it that you are all appreciated. You are all my friends, and in one way or the other, especially as the immediate past director of academic planning, I have had to work closely with almost all staff in the university and have come a long way. Thank you. I remember my family. I remember traveling to from Ghana to the United States with my husband before our marriage to submit my application for the position of an assistant lecturer in United States University. And I asked him, I said, how will you feel in the future if I become a professor and you are still referred to as sister? He said, it will not matter to him, that he will give me every necessary support to excel in my work. And true to his promise, he has supported me and has never complained about my ambition. Absent from our home in pursuit of career, I thank you, my dear husband, for trusting me, I appreciate my children, my niece from HABC. I love you, your support, and everything. In fact, working as a young academic, my children had a student mother, and that was my niece. On which I still tomorrow. She did not know what I was doing. And my mother-in-law, Mrs. Emilia Arisa, she's actually here. She's quite old. But we take care of my home while I was away. So how can I forget that? They have been there for me. My siblings, Professor Uwape Okereke Igobe, he's here. He came all the way from Niger State. He's here. For the encouragement, his wife, Dr. Catherine Igobe, she's here. My sister Laura, she's here, and her husband, and Namumetu. My sister Cecilia, she's here. And all my church members, I appreciate my minister in charge of the branch. If you know Yaba, there is a church, there is a round church in Yaba bus stop. With respect, the church with respect. Lagos Presbyterian Church, Yaba. The minister in charge is here. Thank you very much, our minister. And the ministerial team. Reverend Ebi, thank you very much. Oh, I'm so loved. Thank you very much. Reverend, I thank you. And the elders, I thank you all. My Sunday school department people, thank you. My women's guild members, I thank all of you. Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate you. May God bless each and every one of you and give you also the grace to reach the peak of your careers in Jesus' name. Thank you very much. Yes, my sister-in-law is also here. And do you know the actor, Paul Obazele? He's my brother-in-law. He's here too. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And his wife, Chibuzo. And my uncle-in-law. In fact, my husband is older than this, my uncle-in-law. Thank you very much.
Very distinguished guest, let me humbly invite the Vice Chancellor to receive a copy of the lecture.
My Vice Chancellor, thank you for the opportunity to deliver this.
distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure we treated to a well-written paper, thoughtfully put together, and well presented. She was simply practical about it. That shows that this research or papers put together were actually done by this professor. So she actually professed very well. Please give a round of applause. One thing I thought was confess. When we were studying outside the country, the lecturers there will give you their own products to research on. But then you come back home, really we don't find it very useful. Thank you for going back to our own local products. Let's look at our own products also. Let me commend the professors who supervised you also, Professor Howell and others. Professor Amon, thank you for being there. And your mentors, Professor Okuwela, you are tough. You have not changed. You still the same tough Okuwela. Looking at those products that you give or the seeds means that we need to look inward. There are quite a lot of things we can do. When you study outside, they make you look at their own work, for their own seeds. And they use your results for their own benefits. Thank you for looking backwards, looking inwards, and telling us the quality of things we have on ground. When you mentioned Ubi with that long name, I was asking the UN, I hope that is Ubi. Yeah, whatever the long name is, we have 62% oil in it. Is something we want to put into. I'm sure there'll be a lot more work on that so that oil produced can be useful for us internally. Quite a lot of things. I'm sure all of us here, both staff, students, our guests, have learned that from this area professor who have decided to build the card to look inwards. While she was speaking, she mentioned cassava. I mentioned that cassava you cannot get an equipment to build it. And I challenge every engineer here today. Someone, Professor, former Vice Chancellor of NAMLA, thank you, worked on the harvesting of yam. And our privilege to access these people at some time. I was not assessing only, I was studying his papers. Now I studied it. But that's an area that I would not even venture into. I would not venture into that time. Because you cannot get yam without the same length or the same width. And he went on and on to do that. Professor Arisa, thank you for venturing into looking at the local seats. You know, trying for all our students and our professors, not to do what in the business. And I'd like to thank you. My Nigeria story. It's your story. Thank you for taking ownership of the story. It is your story. Scarcity in the midst of plenty. And that's true. But we is plentiful. Yes, we suffer. Others must do the food science and technology department. Please work more and more on this. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking us through this. The night-talk is richer than the presentation. She has summarized this in just 1 hour. It's difficult. You know, that's a professor. She did do that. In 1 hour she did that. And she has done it excellently well. Please give her another round of applause. Thank you. For example, the professor, the vice chancellor of the private university, to start with an Inaugural at the another round of applause. Thank you so much for coming. You need to watch your mentee. he said today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Before the vote of thank this and all the things representation convert the list together. The local lecturers, I guess, the principal officers and others will also move to temperance guest house for a small get together. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are gradually coming to the end of the program. Before we leave, let me express our sincere appreciation to the chief host and vice chancellor of the university, Professor Inaugural, for providing the enabling environment for this lecture to do. Thank you very much, sir. I express my appreciation to other principal officers here present. The bossa is being presented by the deputy bossa, Mr. Ali Adamus, the university librarian, Dr. Alicia Yusuf. These who are here, thank you so much for coming. In the crowd there, I can see the immediate past deputy vice chancellor, Professor Afunaya Okoko. Thank you very much for coming. All professors and directors here present, thank you for honoring our invitation. I express our how we continue with the vote of time. There is a bit of somewhere I have skipped a major important aspect of the program. Is the presentation of plan to the guest lecturer. Vice Chancellor, sir, and the guest lecturer.
Registrar Head Council, thank you for this opportunity. This plaque represented to our 7th inaugural lecturer, 7th completeness, level of completeness of this night. And Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Technology, Ottawa. Thank you. But I want to excellence presented to Professor Ngozi Ugo Abisa, MNIFST, FICA, Professor of Food Technology, for a well-deserved 7th inaugural lecture. Topic: My Nigerian Food Story, Scarcity in Its Core, and the Wednesday, 24th September 2025. Thank you very much. This is a souvenir from the university, marking this occasion also. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I thank all the professors, HODs, directors, and members of the family of the inaugural lecturer. Thank you for coming. Our distinguished guests, staff and students, and the same ladies and gentlemen, let us give a round of applause to the guest lecturer, Professor Inaugural. We have delivered a very, very good lecture today, and she has greatly contributed to knowledge to the lecture today. Thank you very much for coming, and wish you very safety to your various destinations. Thank you very much. I will write for the university anthem. University anthem.